Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be seeing if you can run Flight Simulator 2020 on the x58 platform. So for this video we're going to be using the PC behind me, which has a Xeon W3680 and a RX 480. It also has 12 gigs of RAM and will be running Flight Sim 2020 off the 1TB hard drive. On x58, the W3680 is the second to highest end processor that there is, and for this video I have it overclocked to 4 GHz to make sure we don't have a CPU bottleneck. The GPU is the RX 480, which is one of the best GPUs supported by x58, as x58 doesn't have secure boot. Let's get into the benchmarks. So for all the benchmarks, we'll be running at 1080p, and starting off for this first benchmark, we will be using the low preset. These are the exact settings, part of the low preset. As you can see with the low preset on the ground, we're getting over 100 frames a second, and looking around is very smooth with no hitches. All of the buttons and dials you can interact with work very smoothly. And the sound is working and is synchronized correctly. Now, taking off, the frame rate stays at about 120, and after we get off the ground, it dips down to the high 90s. Flying over to the city, the frame rate stays in the 90s. And flying through the city, the frame rate increases up to about 100. The textures in here look decent, but the edges of buildings are smoothed out. Now, for the mid preset, on the ground with the medium preset, we're getting about 60 to 70 frames a second, and looking around is still smooth, and interacting with everything works right. Taking off, the frame rate stays at about 70, and once we're in the air, it stays a little bit below 70 frames per second. Going closer to the ground, you can see here that the water and trees textures are a lot better than they were at the low settings. And close to the ground, the frame rate does sometimes dip below 60, but there is no noticeable stutters.
Icon X-ray Golf Sierra, please acknowledge. Minneapolis Tower Icon Alpha.
flying through the city, you can see that the buildings look less smoothed out, and the textures are a bit sharper and higher res. Flying through the city, the frame rate stays above 60. Alright, now for a test at the high preset. The game barely manages to stay above 10 frames a second, and the audio is slightly off synchronization, with there seeming to be some input lag for all the controls. I really have no idea how to show the input lag, but there did seem to be about a quarter second of it. When taking off, the game seemed to be running slightly slower than normal, and it was a bit hard to take off with the input lag. Once we were off the ground, the frame rate stayed below 20, with stutters that made the game mostly unplayable. So, this game could really only be ran on x58 with low to medium settings.
So, as we saw in the benchmarks, this PC can run Flight Sim 2020 at low to medium settings, maintaining above 30 frames a second. For Flight Sim 2020, that actually is a pretty decent frame rate, and it still looks okay at those settings. Anyways, if you liked this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.